Hi, my name is Bhumika, and in this lesson, we're going to do introduction to endocrinology. That means we're going to do some very basic functions of the hormones which are secreted from endocrine glands. I've actually missed out a few glands here because the tutorial was going too long and the duration was short in which I had to record it. So I've actually included them in my next lesson. So be sure to check that out as well. Okay, let's get started. So, quick facts: endocrine glands lack ducts and are hence called ductless glands. Their secretions are called hormones. So, because they do not have ducts, they are called endocrine glands. The hormones that they secrete, they're directly secreted inside the bloodstream. The classical definition of a hormone is chemical produced by endocrine glands and released into the blood and transported to a distantly located target organ has current scientific definition as follows. So this is the current scientific definition that if at all is asked in any examination, you're going to write down this because this is straight from the NCERT. So the hormones are non-nutrient chemicals. Of course, they're non-nutrient. They do have no nutritious value, which act as intercellular messengers. Messengers because they kind of carry a message of pretty much producing a physiological change, and are produced in trace amounts. That means they're required in very, very less amounts, just like enzymes. The new definition covers a number of new molecules in addition to the hormones which were secreted by the organized endocrine glands. Invertebrates possess very simple endocrine system with a few hormones, whereas a large number of chemicals act as hormones and provide coordination in the vertebrates. The endocrine glands and hormones producing diffuse tissue cells located in different parts of the body constitute the endocrine system. There are a number of endocrine glands located all throughout the body. The pituitary, pineal, thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, and gonads. The testis in male and the ovary in female are the organized endocrine bodies in our body. And in addition to these, there are some other organs also, such as the gastrointestinal tract, liver, kidney, heart, and also some other organs which produce these hormones. We have actually done the human physiology, and we've spoken about a number of hormones which are not secreted by these organized endocrine bodies, such as the pituitary, pineal, and all of these. So these are secreted by other parts, and they're also considered endocrine because obviously they are secreted right into the bloodstream. So getting started, we have the first one, which is the hypothalamus. We already did the position of the hypothalamus in the chapter of the brain. The hypothalamus is the basal part of the diencephalon forebrain, and it regulates a wide spectrum of body function. Contains several groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei, which produce the hormones. So nuclei are the basic forming body of the hormones. These hormones, they regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. However, the hormones which are produced by hypothalamus are of two types: the releasing hormone, that means which stimulate, they go to their respective gland and they stimulate the release of a particular hormone, and the inhibiting hormone, which inhibits the secretions of pituitary hormones. Alright, so for example, a hypothalamic hormone called the gonadotrophin releasing hormone, better known as the GnRH, stimulates the pituitary synthesis and release of gonadotrophins. On the other hand, somatostatin from hypothalamus inhibits the release of growth hormone from the pituitary. So these hormones, they originate in the hypothalamic neurons and they pass through axons and are released from the nerve endings. These hormones, they reach the pituitary gland through a portal circulatory system and regulate the functions of the anterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is under the direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. So that is how hypothalamus controls all of that. Moving on, we have the master endocrine gland, which is known as the pituitary. The pituitary gland is located in a bony cavity called the sella turcica. Very important question. It's most of the times asked in competitive examinations. The bony cavity in which the pituitary gland is located, it's known as the sella turcica, and is attached to a hypothalamus by the means of a stalk. It is divided anatomically into adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. So these are the two anatomical divisions of the pituitary gland. The adenohypophysis, it is further consisting of two portions: the pars distalis and the pars intermedia. The pars distalis, it secretes a number of hormones such as the GH, which is the growth hormone. We have the prolactin, we have the thyroid stimulating hormone, we have the adrenocorticotropic hormone ACTH, we have the luteinizing hormone, and of course the follicle stimulating hormone. So the pars distalis region is also known as anterior pituitary, which is the common name, but because we need to know the scientific terminology, well, we're going to be referring it to as the pars distalis. So pars intermedia secretes only one hormone, which is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. However, in humans, the pars intermedia is almost merged with pars distalis. So the next anatomical division is the neurohypophysis, which is pars nervosa, which is also known as the posterior pituitary, and it stores and releases two hormones, which are oxytocin and vasopressin. Now the interesting thing about this is that oxytocin and vasopressin are actually synthesized in the hypothalamus, and they are stored in the pituitary, okay, which are actually synthesized by the hypothalamus and are transported axonally to neurohypophysis. Over-secretion of GH stimulates the abnormal growth of the body, leading to gigantism, and low secretion of GH will release in stunted growth, obviously, and it results in pituitary dwarfism. Then prolactin regulates the growth of mammary glands and formation of milk in them throughout the pregnancy. Then we have the thyroid stimulating hormone, which stimulates the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones from the thyroid glands. Then the ACTH is used to stimulate the synthesis and secretion of steroid hormones called the glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. We're obviously going to do the adrenal gland in detail, so you'll get to know about it better. We have the LH and FSH, about which you can read here. LH and FSH are basically sex hormones, and the luteinizing hormone is in males, it stimulates the synthesis and secretion of hormones called the androgens in the testes, and FSH is the follicle stimulating hormone, which helps in development of all the layers of the ovum. So this is how it always functions. In females, LH also induces ovulation of the fully mature follicle, which is termed as the Graafian follicle. Then we have the MSH, which acts on melanocytes, the melanin containing cells, and it regulates the pigmentation of the skin. Oxytocin acts on the smooth muscles of the body and stimulates the contraction. Of course, this helps a lot during the process of parturition, during the expulsion of the baby to end the gestation period. So vasopressin acts mainly at the kidney and stimulates resorption of water and electrolytes by the distal tubules, and thereby reduces loss of water through urine diuresis. Hence, it is also known as the antidiuretic hormone. We've already done antidiuretic hormone in the physiology of excretion, if you remember. So it's all interconnected. In order to learn about something, the best thing is to learn about the whole procedure that it follows. So if you followed my previous lessons, then this is all going to be really easy for you guys. Okay, so that's the position of the pituitary gland. We did this in the structure of the brain as well. So we have the optic chiasm right here, we have the hypothalamus, and then there's a stalk in which is the stalk which kind of communicates into the pituitary gland. We have the anterior lobe here, the posterior lobe here, and then we have the pars tuberalis right here, and then we have the median eminence just at the bottom or the base of the optic chiasm. The pineal gland. The pineal gland is actually located on the dorsal side of the forebrain, and it secretes a hormone which is known as melatonin. Melatonin is a very important hormone, and it plays role in regulation of a 24-hour diurnal rhythm of our body. For example, it helps in maintaining the normal rhythm of sleep-wake cycle, body temperature. In addition, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, menstrual cycle, as well as our defense capability. So that's the only hormone that is secreted by the pineal gland. Then finally we have the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is composed of two lobes which are located on either side of the trachea. They're present on the either side of the trachea. Both the lobes are interconnected with a thin flap of connective tissue which is termed as the isthmus. The thyroid gland is composed of follicles and stromal tissue. Each thyroid follicle is composed of follicular cells enclosing a cavity. These follicular cells synthesize two hormones, the tetraiodothyronin, also known as the thyroxine, also known as T4. Okay, T4, why? Because it's tetraiodothyronin, and triiodothyronin, which is T3. Iodine is, of course, essential for the normal rate of hormone synthesis in the thyroid. Deficiency of iodine in our diet results in hypothyroidism and enlargement of the thyroid gland, commonly known as goiter. So that's about the most important disorder which is related to iodine. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy causes defective development and maturation of the growing baby, leading to stunted growth, which is cretinism, mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deaf mutism. In adult women, hypothyroidism may cause menstrual cycle to become irregular. So that's about the symptoms of hypothyroidism. Then thyroid hormones play an important role in the regulation of basal metabolic rate as well. These are the functions. These hormones also support the process of RBC formation, and thyroid hormones control the metabolism of carbs, proteins, and fats as well. Maintenance of water and electrolyte balance is also influenced by the thyroid hormones. Thyroid gland also secretes a protein, very important protein known as the thyrocalcitonin, which regulates the blood calcium levels. Calcitonin, calcium levels. Then we have the parathyroid hormone, which is also found in the association of the thyroid hormone. In humans, the 4 parathyroid glands are present at the back side of the thyroid gland, one pair in each of the 2 lobes. We'll see how they're present diagrammatically. The parathyroid glands secrete a peptide hormone, which is known as the parathyroid hormone, which is represented by PTH. Then we have the secretion of PTH is regulated by the circulating levels of the calcium ions. Parathyroid hormone increases the blood calcium levels. Parathyroid acts on the bones and stimulates the process of bone resorption, dissolution, or demineralization. PTH also stimulates the reabsorption of calcium ions by the renal tubules and increases calcium absorption from the digestive food. So that is why people who have got weak bones, they are given parathyroid injections so as to increase the calcium absorption, and that is how they kind of renew their bones in a way, because it increases the calcium absorption. So that is how the bones kind of become stronger. It is thus clear that PTH is hypercalcemic. That means it increases the blood calcium levels. Along with thyrocalcitonin, it plays a significant role in calcium balance of the body. So here we have it. This is the thyroid gland, and this is the back view of the thyroid gland, and right from the center passes the trachea, and these are kind of embedded, the two pairs, they're kind of embedded in the thyroid glands. Then we have thymus. The thymus is a lobular structure located on the dorsal side of the heart and aorta. Thymus plays a major role in development of the immune system. The gland secretes the peptide hormone called thymosins. Thymosins play a major role in the differentiation of the T lymphos, which provides cell-mediated immunity. In addition, thymuses also promote production of antibodies to provide humoral immunity, and then thymus is degenerated in old individuals, resulting in a decreased production of thymosins. As a result, the immune response of old persons become weak. So as the age advances, the thymus gland, it starts reducing in size as well. So that is the reason why the older people, they are more susceptible to diseases. And because thymus gland, it produces hormones which kind of provide the cell mediated as well as the humoral immunity. That is the reason why it is directly responsible for production of the development of the cells responsible in the immune response. So that's the thymus gland in an adult right here. Okay, that was all about the glands that we studied in this chapter. We covered the major glands, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, then we did the thymus gland, we did the thyroid, we did the parathyroid. So these are present right on top of the body. The rest of the glands I'm going to be covering in the next lesson, so be sure to check that out. Also in the next lesson, I'm going to be including the topic of as to how a hormone basically works. So we'll check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching. If I made myself clear, then you can also watch this in Hindi. I will be updating that in my other course. No forcing, of course. If you're comfortable in Hindi, then you can totally go on and check that out. Please follow me, rate me, review me, and recommend this lesson wherever you think you should. Thank you for watching.